Okay, so good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. For all those who are meeting me for the first time, let me give you like a brief introduction of myself and the company that I work for. So I'm the country manager for Falabella. I have an experience of nearly 2 decades in the apparel industry, and I've worked with brands and offices like Otto, Triberg, Next Sourcing in the past. So I established the license office for Falabella in 2011. It has been 9 years that we've been sourcing out of India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. The office sources apparel as well as home decor, hard goods, home furnishing, footwear, beauty, accessories. And a little bit about Falabella. So Falabella is a $15 billion company based out of Santiago, Chile. We have global footprints in 10 different countries. We hold number one market position in the main 4 countries that we have the extensive coverage in, which is Chile, Peru, Colombia, and Argentina. Falabella as a group has varied and diverse businesses like departmental stores, supermarkets, home improvement stores, financial businesses, and real estate. So in total, 511 stores, 40 shopping malls, and it is the oldest and the largest group out of South American continent, and it has been ranked as the fairest companies in the world, several times in the past. So that's a little bit about me and the company that I work.
Yes, we have heard about your achievements a lot, and this is good. This is really, good to see that we are finally, having a conversation. Of course, these are tough times, but these are the most, I would say, learning times as well. So welcome, Alpna. I welcome you on behalf of Perfect Sourcing. I'll come on to Devender. I know a lot of people in the industry already know you, but I'll still go with the formal flow of your introduction.
Yes. Yeah, so I am in this industry since 1990, starting from my post-graduation from NIFT. Okay. And I have a lot of varied experience working in various countries. And finally, I'm one of the founding partners at Asmara, which is a global platform for sourcing. We have a footprint which covers 16 countries. And we work across the board in terms of product categories, but mainly with the lifestyle brands, and we are working in brands like based out of USA, Canada, Europe, and Asia, including quite a few of the brands in India also. And I think the unique thing about our company is that for us, a customer who is doing $200 million with us is also equally treated as a customer who is doing $1 million with us. Okay. So we have one of those are the unique thing about our company, and I think balance we can talk more when we get going on the webinar. Yeah.
No, we have always heard good things about Asmara, and it's great to have you here in this panel discussion. We all know these are one of the most challenging situations that we have ever faced in the history, and with the apparel industry going through challenges almost every day. People like you who are on the sourcing side can definitely give some light to the people who are on the manufacturing side. So welcome.
Yeah, look forward. I mean, that's the reason I decided to be part of the webinar. Yes. Whatever experience we can share,
absolutely.
Whatever insights I can give, based on how the things are evolving, across Asia for us, I will be more than happy to share the insights.
So, Virender, coming on to you, I would like you to also introduce yourself. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Diti. Good evening, everyone. My name is Virender Sharma, and I'm the General Manager, Sourcing and Quality for Kmart brand under CAS Group Asia, which is basically a sourcing arm for Kmart Group Australia. My current responsibility is to drive sourcing strategy for Kmart apparel, footwear, and accessories. And Kmart sourcing operation for apparel and general merchandise actually spreads across China, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Pakistan, Cambodia, and Indonesia. And under the KGA leadership, which supports an annual sourcing of close to $2.5 billion. KGA also oversees the group's global capability center in Bangalore, which we call it CAS Services, which is an innovation and technology services hub. Prior to joining Kmart, I have worked with organizations like PVH, Ling & Fung, and many other manufacturing and trading organizations. I have been in this industry for almost 22 years now, and worked in India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and United States, and the other countries as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Virender. It's extremely a pleasure to have you here. Welcome. I think the meeting time is starting now, so I will just introduce the agenda of the meeting today. Hi everyone, we are on the Perfect Sourcing live channel also. Perfect Sourcing is a monthly magazine which has been updating the apparel textile industry for the last 10 years. Our main aim is to inform the industry about latest happenings across the board, whether it's Indian market, Indian domestic market, exports or international retail or trends. Today we are here to discuss some very important issues which have been hovering around, and especially garment exporters who are going through a very tough time ever since this COVID has happened. We all are going through something or the other, but I think whenever there is a chance to succeed, nobody will leave any stone untouched. So today we have some sourcing experts, Ms. Alpna Razdan, Mr. Devendra Gupta, Mr. Virendra Sharma. And we first of all would like to start with a small panel discussion wherein we will be discussing the changing sourcing dynamics of Indian apparel trade. Alpna, my first question would be coming to you. Just brief us about the current situation. What's happening? I mean, at your end, what are you observing in terms of apparel exports from India or from all over the world? What is your perspective on the current situation?
So let's say, deeply to begin with, sourcing is just a reflection. It's just a mirror of what's happening in the retail scenario. So I'll go straight to the retail scenario.
Okay.
And as we know, the fashion is ever changing. Post-COVID, pandemic, most companies who've stocked up huge inventory. That was the downfall, and that was seen during this ongoing crisis. So a strong digital and logistic network to facilitate online business is the key, I feel. And for this, I see most of the fashion brands and retailers, they're going to buy closer to the season. They are testing the market before building up stock right now. So the seasonal buying which used to have is probably taking a shift, and more buyers are now focusing on, buying very close or not investing too much in huge inventories. So that is something that is really coming up. And also, the seasons are being defined by the pandemic right now. So various countries are going through lockdown. Some countries are opening up. The scenario in the short term is that people, are still going to the supermarkets. They are still picking up a lot of kids there. They're still picking up a lot of home improvement products. They're picking up home textiles. They're still picking up that. So that is something that we see happening in retail, and that is something that obviously reflects on the sourcing base as well. The SKUs have become shallow. They become wider. There's a cash flow in crunch, which has led to, increased and extended use of, all the credit instruments that the buyers can use towards the supply chain. So retailers are pushing for more margins. They're pushing for more price sensitivity from the suppliers. So this is what's happening in the retail scenario as of now. And this is exactly what's going to happen for the sourcing companies as well. So, yeah.
Are you seeing there is, a peculiar demand coming up from some market?
Definitely. So you see, we are South American sourcing company. So we see a lot of shift towards kidswear. Kidswear is still working out. Home textile, home decor is working out. The biggest change that you obviously see right now is a shift towards buying finishes like antimicrobial, antibacterial finishes. And, this is something that would be the key, in the coming times, because the customer has shift focus and the retailers are quick to notice, and this is what we are providing. So we have seen our suppliers providing for it, going full throttle on offering such goods to our customers, and that is where the sales are coming in right now from.
Okay. Devendra, I would like you to give us a brief about the current situation that you see happening around.
See, a lot of the points which Alpna talked about are very, very relevant. I'll just add on something to that, with no point in repeating it. So the biggest change which we see is that the customer is the number of customers you can work with has shrunk tremendously. Like in case of Alpna, it's like one group. But in our case, like we work with more than 80 customers. And I would say that out of the 80 customers, maybe, 20, 30 of them are not viable anymore to work with.
Okay.
It could be because of the payment issues or because you feel that they are, they will have a financial challenges. So that is one part which we definitely see. Second thing which we are seeing is that the market has changed completely. Very, very online oriented, and there is a lot of basically discounting which is going on. because everybody's trying to get rid of their inventory. So
Absolutely.
the full price sales are very, very less. And we definitely see people coming in to fill in the gaps. And that new orders have started to come, but they're really for the gaps. And those gaps are coming because they had to reduce the orders, or they had to cancel some orders, or the suppliers could not fulfill the orders on time. So there are multiple factors. So, one side, we just can't say that the customers have been, at fault in a lot of the cases. There have been issues where, like lockdown in India, almost 3 months we have lost in terms of productivity and shipping and all that stuff. So that has also affected, in the sense like the customer is first trying to buy back or take those goods, which lost production, instead of placing the new orders. So we definitely see a big shift in the total cycle. So today, most of the factories are sitting on a cycle where they are going to get payments which will come to them maybe in 6 to 8 months time, compared to the first investment they made on the fabrics and the trims, because most of the customers have extended the thing. So obviously, it makes your ability to invest into the business and ability to compete into the business and ability to do many things goes down. So we definitely see a consolidation happening in the market further. So let's say if we were working with 10 suppliers, maybe we will work with 6 suppliers now. And it's the same thing. If you're working with 80 customers, maybe we'll work with 60 customers. So definitely the whole pie is shrinking from that point of view.
Of course, this is a pie shrinking, its consolidation is happening, but the real question is that how long? How long this tenure will be? How long?
I don't think, this is my personal opinion. You could say I'm a pessimistic person, but I clearly don't see that whatever level we were at 2019 is going to come before end of 2022.
2022, okay.
Yeah, 2020 is already gone. 21 will start to have a uptake, which will be there, but the levels which still will not be there. See, we have to also understand that inherently the garment industry or the retail, they have product which is almost 30% of the product never gets sold at all. So we have so much of excess inventory on the floor. 30% never gets sold at all. So when this market is shrinking, where everybody is becoming more careful, the consumer is becoming careful, the number of people selling products are reducing, the number of stores are going to shrink dramatically. Obviously, it will take long time for the consumption to get to the same level where people are saying, okay, I am no more mindful. I want to enjoy. I want to really wear a new outfit every weekend or something like that. It will take a long time. I think what more can you say when you look at companies like Zara shutting down 1,200 stores, which is in a fast fashion, which is a very, very good business model. But they clearly, they are a market leaders in everything, and they are clearly anticipating, and they're saying that instead of taking that step later, let me take that step today, because they have to take that step.
But Devinder, I would like to say one thing here. They are on the other hand expanding as well. They have announced their initiatives to expand their online presence, because closing of stores, of course, is a big move. But people are now scared to go outside. So online shopping is going to increase, as we all know that.
Of course.
Maybe they are going through a different strategy.
See, online will definitely increase, but the thing is that the way the inventory moves changes. When you have a physical store, you need to buy certain inventory just to fill up the store.
Absolutely.
Which is not the case in the online. So obviously the propensity, of the inventory changes completely. So online shift is there. And online business will increase almost 20 to 30%. In fact, a lot of our customers are saying that their online business has been thriving. And one of the reasons why they have not suffered so much is because of the online business. See,
Absolutely.
in general, 30% to 35%, everybody's business has shrunk. So if you see anybody who is basically giving their reports or who publish the reports because they are public listed companies, I haven't, I'm talking about fashion retailers. I don't think any retailer has a sale which has shrunk less than 30 to 35%. And that is up to March quarter, not April, May, June.
That will be even worse.
And when we get the next, the calls, then we will know what really happened, with the COVID thing. So this is a reality. I think my point being that wishful thinking is gone today, because it's a very unpredictable time. You can see a country like US, which has already reached again 40,000 cases, in a day. It is again getting a hit in terms of the sentiments. People are again thinking, okay, what do I do? Is it, are we going to get into another lockdown situation? So it's a still unpredictable time.
Virender, I would like to ask you, because particularly your company is dealing with the Australian market, and it was one of those countries which was free from, the cases were not very high. And today also the situation is much controlled as compared to the US or European market. So what is the situation at your end?
I would say Australian government has done a tremendous job in containing COVID to a larger extent, and this is one of the few countries where COVID has not been seriously damaging in terms of the cases or in terms of the casualty either. We had faced store closures, we had faced some issues in terms of less customer footprint, but overall the business has been extremely good. In fact, during the COVID period, in the month of May, we have seen a significant growth in terms of the sales numbers, and we were actually falling short of filling the store because there was a serious dearth of inventory in the stores, and the customer was There's a serious dearth of inventory in the stores in June because there was a significant sales in the month of May, and we were chasing the orders to fill the stores. So there was a lull in stores as well. So it was a positive signal, but again, there could be several reasons to it why the sales was increasing at that particular point. So we really need to assess what were those factors which has helped driving those sales, and how do we continue to build the momentum in the days to come. But to what Devender just mentioned, I guess I won't say he is pessimistic. Accepting the reality is not pessimism, and the harsh reality is that COVID impact is still far from over. I mean, we are already seeing bloodbath in global retail industries. Big names like JCPenney, J. Crew, Neiman Marcus, True Religion, Models, you name all those famous organizations of the past have filed for bankruptcy protection, right? And there are many of the big names we know, we keep on hearing about it. They're struggling to maintain their cash flow. Retailers are downsizing their teams. They're cutting their inventory costs. Looking at liquidating their stocks. So it is an extremely tough time at this point of time. I would say there will be a serious reduction in demand and supply. Retail stores are closing, footprints are going down. Rising level of unemployment, changes in consumer behavior. All those things will drive the demand down significantly. And from the supply side also, factories are closed for significantly long period of time. They're struggling to deal with COVID. There are trade restrictions. There's a tremendous growth opportunities in terms of nearshoring and onshoring. So all those things will put pressure on the supply side as well. So definitely things doesn't look too positive, at least for 12 to 24 months, in my opinion as well.
So, as you said that there was dearth of products, few days back, or what is it? The situation is still the same. You're getting good number of inquiries and orders from your headquarters. What exactly?
So for us, I would say that when COVID starts kicking in for like everyone, we also started looking at whether we should put a hold onto the orders or not. We also put hold onto the orders for some period of time, and by the time we realized that we shouldn't have done that, we actually started chasing into the orders, and inventory started piling a little bit later. So in month we have seen a surge of sales, and that actually led to a lesser inventory situation in the stores, and there were a lot of empty shelves. But we started working with our partners closely and started bringing the orders in, and now we entered into the new financial year from Australian perspective, which starts in July, and things have started coming back to normal now.
Okay. So I think there is some light at the end of the tunnel. At least somebody has something positive seeing. And Alta, coming on to you, I mean, I would like to ask you one thing. As you rightly mentioned that, everything is changing, whether it's the product categories, people are going more towards home textiles. There is still a demand for kids wear. But I would like to ask you, how are the dynamics for sourcing going to change in terms of manufacturing, in terms of lead times, in terms of product? What exactly is your viewpoint on that?
So, everything is going to change. There is a lot of folk. Do we have somebody there?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So first of all, I wanted to touch upon the topic that Virender and Devender already touched upon. And I agree with both of them that yes, it is a very realistic scenario. Not hope for better times, for the next 2 years. It's going to be extremely tough. There's so many reports suggesting, 25 to 40% negative growth for global apparel and textile industry. So, I mean, India is going to lose, and is going to lose close to 14 billion in the next 2 years. So we have to be prepared. In terms of lead time, manufacturing, everything is going to change deeply, because if you look at lead times, buyers are not going to invest a lot in inventory. So they want shorter lead times. They are going to look at various sourcing regions for shorter lead times. In this current scenario, the point that is very crucial is that, shorter lead times is very important right now for suppliers, and they should focus on it and they should work towards it, because the dynamics are changing. So to avoid cancellation, different economic conditions that suddenly come into play, lockdowns. In shorter term, it is very important for suppliers to pay attention to this, because the freight rates are changing, trade restrictions are coming into play. So working on shorter lead times is in fact going to be effective, right now. So that is something that suppliers should take positively, the manufacturers should take, and even the sourcing.
Alna, I would like to ask you, I'm sorry to interrupt you here. You said the lead times will shorten, right? Right now, retailers like Zara and H&M were already working on 15 days, right? If I'm right.
Of course.
So,
of course,
how much more shrink this will happen, and how would people like a country like India will manage to such shorter lead times?
I think there isn't much scope to shorten the lead times, let's say for Zara and H&M, who are already working on a very tight lead time, but there are several other retailers who are still working on 60 days, 90 days lead time. And there is, in fact, an opportunity to, reduce it. And reduction of these lead times will lead to, less risk for the suppliers, because they'll be working close to the sea. They know that there won't be a lockdown. That's why they serve, the buyer, the retailer is asking for goods. There won't be any trade restrictions suddenly inflating, air costs right now. The freight charges are huge, humongous for South America. So all this will obviously come into play. For retailers like Zara and all, what I heard was they're going sourcing a lot from Europe itself, just to make sure that they cut down further on the lead times, even though the lead times out of, let's say, the Asian countries is 45 days, maximum. So that happens, In terms of manufacturing, the buyers are very, very right now the buyers are looking at a scenario where they want to have an established and a very reliable sourcing base. They want to have factories who are safe, who have hygienic conditions, who will not be shut down. They are, and what they are looking at is, what they're looking in terms of COVID. The COVID prevention conditions are more important right now than the various other compliances, and that is something that we are talking about a lot right now with the factories that we are working on. In terms of factories, the suppliers, it has to be consolidated. The suppliers, like Devinder mentioned, the pie is smaller, You need to work very closely together with the suppliers who are reliable, who have been partners with you for a very long time, because there is obviously extension of credits as well. The payments have been deferred, shipments have been deferred, and you don't have the right forecast right now, and nobody does at the moment. So I think everybody has to work very closely, lead times, manufacturers, the suppliers, everybody together, the retailers. And that's what inherently sourcing is, to work together with the retailers and make sure that you give them what they want at the end.
Okay, fine. I would like to ask you the expansion on the same question, Devender. We all know that, of course, lead times are going to shrink. There will be the dynamics of the markets are going to change. What, according to you, will be the new contractual or new, rules and regulations for the vendors in India? How are things going to change for the Indian apparel exporters? 1 minute.
I don't think that things are going to change too much from what they used to be. In the sense, like the first change which is going to happen is that a lot of the relationship will fall apart. So the number of the relationships which will exist will actually become stronger, and people will find the ways to work together. Whether it is in terms of shrinking the lead time, whether it is a combination of the payment terms, how the design development is done, how the sourcing is done, how you consolidate a lot of the things. So I don't think, I'm not worried in terms of that there would be a very, very major impact. The impact is already happening in terms of relationship breaking away. People closing down, bankruptcies happening. But when the dust settles, whoever is remaining, they actually will be more closely working with each other. They will have to protect each other. The customer will definitely like to protect their vendors. Vendors would like to protect their suppliers. And the chain will become much, much more stronger. The only problem is that the chain would be, the business would have shrunk by 30 to 40%. And when the chain becomes like that, automatically it creates efficiency. Automatically the lead times, the pricing, everything becomes better because the efficiency is going to go up. And customer will be able to say, okay, listen, I like coming to the lead time. Lead time is all related to what they empower you with. So the customer will be able to empower more to the suppliers, to the buying offices, and say, okay, you do it. More design services will become more and more critical. The width of the offering will increase because the online business will increase a lot. So when the online business is increasing, let's say if you were in a store, you could only put, let's say, 20 shirts. Now you will probably be keeping 200 shirts. So the design offering will become more and more critical. How you digitize the things, how you're able to, reduce the number of samples needed, courier going down, no need to send, strike-offs for approvals, or all those things will happen. So this is how I see it. I actually think that whoever is going to be standing tall will benefit from this, to be honest. I think the relationships will be much, much more stronger and much, much more meaningful.
But one thing has happened for sure. For example, if I talk about Bangladesh, the way exporters have revolted against non-payment of orders has been quite different, which has happened in India. There is a big contrast in the way things have been handled. So, do you think that things will fall somewhere in place for India? Somewhere India will be at an advantageous position in times to come?
See, I don't think that India was ever about a macro situation. I think on a macro level, a lot of the time you wonder why India is even there for a lot of the things. Because we've been talking about, like opportunities coming to India, but we've never been able to take it as a country.
True.
But as an individual companies, a lot of the companies are able to take advantages. So I definitely see a lot of wins happening on an individual level. The business will move because the customer today doesn't see that since the quota went away, the customer don't look at country per se first. They look at the vendor. So let's say, for example, if there are five Shahis tomorrow in India, obviously they'll pull away a lot of business from Bangladesh. And then coming to the part of the revolting part onto it, I think that that is something which doesn't happen if the government support is not there.
Absolutely. I mean, we all need the government support.
So I think we are not qualified to answer that, to be honest, that whether it is a right thing or the wrong thing to do.
No, but when you are one of the key people in the supply chain, whenever an order is coming towards India or it is going out being exported, you people are the people who are holding this very strong. So when you say that things will,
I'll tell you. Yeah. So I'll tell you the problem which is here is that this is a very extraordinary situation. I don't think you have any parallel to this situation, which is there. True. And you have to, what gets into the play are the relationships. Like even when let's say we take an example of H&M or Primark or whoever, I talk about Bangladesh, for example. So Bangladesh, let's say if doing a business of $500 million for a customer annually, and there is a cancellation or something happening, I am 100% sure, first of all, cancellation is not across the board. It is never where they will say that, okay, I have cancelled equally with each and every supplier. There's always a cherry picking which happens. Unfortunately, our business is like that, So I think this is what my point of view today is, that unfortunately this pandemic, this extraordinary event which has happened is going to, it's like a mega event where first thing which is going to happen is that the people who are not supposed to be in the business, or they were already hanging by the thread, are going to go away. So this is the harsh reality. Yes, the Bangladesh has been a different story because the government has supported it. But I can tell you, in India also, I know many customers, who have cancelled the orders, but that cancellation has not been across the board the same way. People have not paid. It's not been across the board the same way. For when you talk about the same customer, one vendor has got paid, no cancellation. Another vendor has cancellation and also not paid. So unfortunately, that's the reality.
I understand that. Virender, I would like to ask one question from you particularly here. So because you are dealing into apparel also into a lot of categories. As far as your company is concerned, what do you see that in the coming times, what type of products will be, fetching up demand from India? Because I'm particularly here talking about India. So about your company, what would be the strategy?
So India is definitely on a growth strategy for us. From any organization, I keep on saying this all the time, that any organization who has been dependent on one or two nations as their sourcing base, they have faced serious issues during this kind of disaster, right? So it is extremely important that we have a diversified strategy, sourcing strategy. So India is on a growth radar for us, because we are heavily penetrated into China and Bangladesh, and there is a plan to de-risk those countries and increase our penetration in India and Vietnam. So it's not that we are not having a presence in these countries, but we definitely would love to increase it to a significant level in the days to come.
Any particular product categories which you think will be coming towards India in the coming times? Any particular business which you think that will be an opportunity for India in the coming times?
We would love to bring in as many products as possible, but the reality is that India has always been a cotton dominant source, and when it comes to CVCs and synthetics, it has been an extremely big challenge where India has not been able to play competitive against China and Vietnam, even with Indonesia as well. So our focus will be largely on cotton-based products, which is India's strength. And we will work with our partners to see that how do they build the capabilities in terms of diversifying their product offering, and so that we are able to build a business with them together.
Now, everybody is talking that, we will be fighting whatever has happened. We will be going against China. I'm not talking about only India, but the sentiments of, all over the world with what has happened. People still think that the virus has come in from China, and people would see that sourcing would be moving away from China. In fact, a lot of companies are planning to move away from China. Are you seeing some feelers for your company as well? Are you seeing something happening in the direction that some orders might move from China? I'm not saying maybe they'll come to India, but is that happening? Has it started happening again?
So even before COVID, we have been working on this path for quite some time. In apparel, I mean, fortunately, we have multiple options. We have different countries where we can actually go, like Vietnam, Indonesia, Bangladesh, and Cambodia and Myanmar. These are the countries where we can actually go. But in case of general merchandise, still heavily dominant in China, because there are limitations in terms of product offerings across the globe, except for China. China is a dominant player in that category. But in terms of apparel, definitely we have been working on this for quite some time to de-risk China and mitigate our risk and moving into different countries.
I did not ask you the same question I asked Devender, that how would you see the sourcing dynamics going for a change? I mean, as a company, what will be your sourcing strategy? How are things going to change in terms of manufacturing, product cycle, products? What exactly will be your opinion on that?
See, I would again say that not too much of change is going to happen.
Devender, sorry to interrupt. I was asking Virender. I'll come back to you in a second.
Sorry.
The last, maybe it's a little similar.
V&D is confusing. sorry for that.
It's okay.
There's a problem. So then, like Devender said, I guess I won't see. I think the biggest change which will happen is the people who didn't have the deep financial pockets, or I would say the financial ethics for managing the business, will be moving away from the business, and there will be a significant consolidation happening. And what will happen with that is the deeper relationship will come into play. The relationship between the buyers and the sellers, or manufacturers and the buyers, will be significantly improving. They will be coming together as one force. In terms of the lead time, again, I would say the lead time is basically, capacities are still finite, right? We really need to, and it's a combination. What we really need to do is to identify where do we need speed. Everybody cannot be Zara, right? Everybody cannot be H&M. So there are different models which has to come into play. There are basic programs which you can put in on replenishment models and run it smooth. There will be the days have gone where people will be placing orders 120 days or 150 days or even 90 days is going to be a question go forward. People would be, for the fashion segment, they would be, placing the order as close as possible to the season. And, that's where the read and react models and test and chase models will come into play. So I would say that there's not one thing which fits all. We really need to look at what are the needs for our consumers. And, every brand has a different set of consumers, right? The consumer needs are different, and based on what we need to kind of create the models to work around it.
Okay, thank you, Virender. Alpna, I would like to ask you what changes you see coming in terms of technology also. Do you see some dynamics or some few changes coming in terms of technology?
I think this is the biggest area, Deepti, that we need to talk about right now, which is technology for sure. It will play a big role, a key role, because, right now what I'm seeing is suppliers have been presenting virtual showrooms to our buyers, and this has helped in clicking in, new product, new categories, new developments, and faster exchange of ideas. So in today's time, when borders are closed, international travel has stopped, and, buyers still want to maintain that kind of relationship with the supplier base, it is going to be key, in order to ensure that the right product development, ideas, opportunities get across to the buyers. So we've started developing like online bidding programs, e-sourcing systems, which will help us, further in conducting sourcing buying meetings. We've already started doing that, and that has really been very efficient for us, and it has brought in sales, by conducting meetings remotely. Not only that, virtual showrooms have given access to the buyers, in terms of new developments, faster product lines, access to other product categories which they were not able to travel to, let's say, or explore while traveling. So I think that the suppliers need to understand the shift. It is very important. It is the key, and work towards a more efficient system for product representation, because they have to really elevate it. It can't be the same what used to happen earlier on. So they have to elevate that experience for the buyers, and they have to work towards a far better product representation and work more efficiently in terms of costing, negotiation, because a relationship is now going, right? You're not meeting them face to face. You're not traveling. You're not, actually meeting or exploring garments by hand. So you need to be accurate in terms of your costing, your quotation, and now is the time to invest in the right technology. And you need to continue to build up on this and elevate the experience for the buyer. So I think technology is the key right now, and that is something that all the suppliers need to focus on.
Alpna, can you enlighten our listeners a few ways they can digitize, or few ways that they can use technology to be at the forefront in terms of showing their samples to the buyers? Anything that you would like to pinpoint?
So we had a recently concluded home textile fair, and we also had some meetings that was supposed to happen for us, the buying meetings last month, and all our vendors, all our suppliers who could develop a virtual showroom which has access to the product, the FOB, the new developments, the fabrics, how closely they can do. And this requires a lot of technology. It's not the same PowerPoint presentation that everybody has been working on. It is more interactive, right? So that is something that people are working on. At the same time, when we were discussing lead times and everybody agrees that we need to shorten the lead times, right? It also means that buyers will be buying in between the season. They will have budget allocation interim, of the season. And at that point of time, if they need to book something, then online e-bidding system, online e-sourcing system, that would be the key. And for that, the supply needs to be prepared, how to quote, how to negotiate, how to ensure that the first quote that gets through is picked up by the buyer. So whatever used to happen in the past cannot work anymore. We need to elevate it. We need to do better. And for sure, I mean, that's a separate discussion altogether, but virtual showrooms going forward could be something very interesting for all the suppliers out of India to explore.
Yes. They've already started talking about it. Yep. Yes. My last conversation was with a group of leading exporters from the country, and they all shared this valid point. Firstly, that we are all working on the virtual showroom part. Virtual meetings is already happening. But this is one concept that they're really into, because at the end of the day, they have to show their samples, their product line to the buyer. And this is only way left out to them, because traveling is right now, it's not in the scenario. I would like to ask you, Devender, you pinpointed one point very specifically, that the efficiencies will have to be, worked upon. I mean, people will get more efficient. So what type of ways exporters will be, should be adopting right now? What type of solutions they should be looking at right now to be able to fight the situation and get out of it? Because you rightly said, everybody is not in the same boat. Somebody has a good product, somebody has a good capacity, somebody has a good efficiency. So everybody has a good, a combination of something or the other. But what, according to you, will be the perfect fit for winning in these tough times?
Yeah, I think the key is going to be able to have a system which helps you to test and react, because more and more business will move towards a testing phase. The customer will have a platform where they can quickly test a product, and then they will say, I think this is going to be a winner product, and I need a large numbers to be made, but I need them tomorrow. Because that if it is too late, it has no use for me. So I definitely see a shift in the manufacturing way itself, where it will become more and more modular. People at one side will have to work on more styles, because the style demand will go up, and at the same time they will have to have lines where they can do larger runs in a shorter lead time, but with a higher efficiency. So I would say that most of these things is not something which is new. Whether we talk about digital samples, whether we talk about, 3D samples, and all those things are very old. They are not new. And even this modular system, test and react, all these things are very old. It's just that people have not really cared for them. Now they have no choice. They will have to adapt and really, really become an expert in all these things. Otherwise, they will perish. They will not be able to survive onto it. One of the things which we are not also realizing it, which is not in the favor of India, is that this pandemic has affected everyone globally. Everybody is suffering today. Like the way we're talking about Indian exporter is suffering, same thing is happening in Vietnam or Bangladesh or Indonesia, anywhere you go to. It's the same situation. Now, that clearly means that who is more ready for it? Who is the person who is more ready, or as you know, one as a country and within the country as an exporter, to take advantage of whether the business is moving from China or whether the customer itself is saying that, listen, I need to, have less number of suppliers. So how do I judge them? How do I, rate them and to do it? So I believe that today, the only way to win the business, and which is in the India's advantage, is if we can demonstrate the part where we can give the confidence to the customer that we are much, much better than just creating samples. India wins dramatically compared to any other country when it comes to sample development. And we really, really make good samples. But the moment we are getting into execution and the bulk, we fail, compared to the other people. I mean, there are people who are really doing a good all across, but in general, we fail compared to our competitors. And that's why India has been losing the business. And I think we were talking about the China business moving. So I completely agree that movement already started to happen when US and China got into the trade war.
Trade war, okay.
Okay, so in fact, we have a lot of customers who moved their business, their percentage of the business moved from 40 to 45% from China to only about 12%. And this was all before COVID. So what I'm trying to say is that customers don't create their strategy because they are businessmen. Businessman doesn't create the strategy just because the virus has come from China. They will create their business strategy because they need certain deliverables. Whoever is going to give them those deliverables will get the business. And that's where I think India has one advantage, which is we are very good in development. We can really, be very sharp in terms of presentations and everything, which we are leaps ahead of any other country. We have to figure out that how do we now translate that into quick test orders as well as the quick bulk orders. That's where that's the low hanging fruit in my opinion. And
every exporter is in a dilemma right now because on one hand, of course, there is an opportunity. We have to fight with the situation. On the other hand, this COVID-19 is impacting the business. The retail stores are not open. Cash flow. I was talking to some of the exporters. They were in a big trouble because there are no payments. The buyers are asking for discounts on the the orders which have already been shipped. So I'm talking about a vicious circle here. If you understand my point, wherein there is a dearth of orders, but still they have to look at the opportunity. They have to reinvest in the business. They have to rework on their efficiency. Small seasons, more sampling. I mean, how we are going to crack this vicious circle is my question.
See, I would say that I don't think this is a very typical problem. The problem is the same. If you look at it, it's just that another dimension have been added. Whatever we're talking about is the same issue which we've been talking about, why India export is less. Why India share has not gone up.
Absolutely.
We are not talking about anything new today. Right? It's just that because of this pandemic,
angle has been added.
Yes. So I think we are just talking, we are basically now saying that, I was not prepared. I did not prepare myself. Whoever has not prepared themselves is definitely going to lose. That's the problem. And it's across the countries. It's not within a country, there's a benchmark. No? In India, we will have a benchmark. And based on that benchmark, you will rate every vendor. Similarly, Bangladesh will have a different benchmark. Vietnam will have a different benchmark. You will not go to Vietnam and rate a vendor there based on the Indian benchmark. Nor would you take the Vietnam benchmark and rate the Indian vendors based on that. So I believe that we just have to realize that, listen, we have not done something which we should have done for the last 5-10 years. Now either we do it or we perish. Simple.
That's of course is the situation. Virender, coming on to you, I would like to ask you, what is the sentiment of consumer? How is fashion retail changing at the consumer end? What exactly is your feelers? What type of response you are getting from all over? You were in the US, if I'm not wrong, for a very long time. So you must, be able to share some situation with us on the customer psyche going for a complete change in the coming times, and what it would be and how.
So consumer sentiments, whenever you get into these kind of disaster or economic disaster, I would say, the consumer sentiments go for a toss. They will start looking at spending, very carefully, and they will start spending almost no money on clothing, travel, leisure, and all those aspects. So they'll start spending on things which are extremely important, right? So consumer sentiment is definitely low, and this is going to drive the demand significantly, to my earlier point, which I mentioned earlier as well, that it is going to create an impact on how consumer is going to spend, what is the right thing they would really love to spend. Affordability and value chain models will come into play, because they will be able to afford certain amount of money, and they would love to have the biggest possible value out of that money. So we need the retailers and the manufacturer both collectively need to give a good value proposition to the consumer, so that they are able to drive consumer back to the stores or through the online channels, so that whatever money they are willing to spend, they spend on their product and buy it.
True.
So it is going to be extremely complex situation where retailers will be forced to think innovative ways of product offering, and in the COVID environment where consumer will not be coming willingly to the stores as well. How do they create a omnichannel environment through the click and collect in the stores, or they give an amazing online offering? Somehow that online offering has still not been extremely competitive. Retailers have still not been able to find out how to make a significant amount of money in the online businesses. But this is going to be the future, and so that's how retailers really need to start thinking about the innovative ways of giving the product offering to the consumer.
And anything in particular in terms of product categories, like what I'm getting, what I'm getting about the industry is that casual wear, t-shirts, anything that can be, one can wear comfortably at their home, because most of them are working from home, will be in demand. Medical textiles, or as you rightly said, the antimicrobial fabrics or products. So what according to you will be in demand?
So I say work from home has become a big new normal, right? So so the biggest growth which we have seen is in the active space and the leisure and the casual apparel categories. So like you rightly said, the casual products are doing extremely well. And like Alpana also alluded to it earlier, that performance finishes like antimicrobial and antibacterial finishes, they are actually in serious demand. So consumer is expecting those kind of products more, because there's no office environment this point of time. So the formal clothing has taken a serious hit. Formal dresses has taken a serious hit in terms of the business. So large focus is around casual clothing and active business. Yeah.
Okay. Alpana, I would like to ask you one thing, that how as a company you are, dealing with the situation with your vendors. We are, on one hand, we are facing with a challenging, situation of the orders. On the other, fast fashion, whatever it is, pricing is also, a major criteria, then production, then timeline. And then the biggest factor right now for any supplier is the trust factor, because they are really in a very difficult situation wherein, they don't have the confidence that if I ship today, whether I will be able to get my payments on time or not. So how are you handling the situation with your vendor base? What exactly is your company strategy, and what type of things you're working on?
So you're right, Kirti, very, very right. At the moment, the biggest challenge that we're facing for the apparel industry out of India is the financial sustainability, right, of the suppliers. They have pressure on the working capital. They're running low on liquidity. So there's an increased, credit terms also amongst all the buyers, that what they're requesting for. So it is the biggest challenge that all the supply base is facing out of India. And as an office, that is why I'm saying, when I mentioned it earlier, it's so important to have a consolidated supplier base. It is so important to have a reliable supplier base. It is so important to focus during this time. And we are working very cohesively with our vendors. I'm making sure that we update them regularly regarding what's happening at head office, what's happening on our retail front, what's happening in terms of our store sales, how much it is, in order so that they can be assured that there is some movement, or even if there isn't any, at least they understand the dynamics of the business at the moment. They understand they don't need to feel the panic. As a company, we've not cancelled any orders. We've deferred payments, of course, which every other customer. But this is a strong point that we have, because we have a very reliable supplier base, and it's important to work closely with them, communicate with the key vendors, and in order to update them, about the trends, challenges. And when you do that, you come across, you work, as Devendra, I think, also mentioned, and Devendra also mentioned, supply base, when they work together, they always come up with solutions, supply with retailers. So strong communication is inherent, it's required right now. It's not that anybody can hide behind the pandemic. It is more important than ever to communicate what you're going through, how you see yourself moving forward, how you see your suppliers, what is the strategy right now, how is it changing, and keeping everybody posted about it. So transparency is the key right now. And then, of course, the digital connectivity and experience. That's something that everybody needs to do right now, because that's going to take us forward. So as an office, as a buying office, what we've done is we've digitally elevated ourselves. We are having more virtual designs, we are having more fittings, virtual fittings. We're using technology for buying meetings, e-sourcing. We are using it for pricing, and this has kept our sales figures running, and this will continue to be the norm for the next 6 months, let's say, at the minimum, or maybe longer, for all you know. And all the employees, all the vendors, they have been trained on digital front. They have been now equipped to manage online meetings, online fittings, e-biddings. And this is it would sound very basic, but this would be the key, because India, like everybody mentions here, it runs on product, it runs on development, it runs on the fact that we can develop really pretty samples and we can convert it into orders. But for that, we need to have visibility with the customer. So it is very, very important. So two things I would say is communicate as much as you can, and then work on digital, enhancement, and elevate that experience for the customer, because that's the only key, to keep building up your business and keep enhancing your, sourcing strategy.
That sounds positive, Alpna, but as an exporter, as a manufacturer, if I'm an exporter and I've invested so much money in machinery, in people, in product, my first concern would be orders. So I would like to ask you, what is the situation in terms of orders? How soon you are going to give orders, or how soon, the sampling is on, or the production for autumn, winter? What exactly is happening?
So I can only talk about South American context right now. So in that context, all I can say is that we of course didn't have a very good first 2 quarters, and now what we are looking at, our stores have started opening up. How long can the economic activity not continue? So it's the worldwide scenarios, and online sales are up by almost 40% for us, and we've started online in countries where we were not even exploring online earlier on. So of course, the sales have started. In terms of product categories, if you look, I know there's a huge demand for casual, and I mentioned it right now. And for now, that would be the case. But going forward in long term, I think all the product categories will come back with a vengeance. People will start working on different product categories. You have already seen people going out, the moment the lockdowns are lifted. So I think it's not a long-term strategy to just work on one particular product category, but keep enhancing whatever India has to offer, or whatever Bangladesh can offer in my scenario. Keep working on things, and keep giving out new product, keep giving out finishes, like antimicrobial, keep working on more technology, just to make sure the customer is still interested. And like we already mentioned, Virender mentioned earlier on, that, sourcing business does not run on sentiments, but the buyers are smart. They know they need to diversify their sourcing base and they cannot keep it all in China or let's say only in Bangladesh. So they will look for opportunity elsewhere. Right now they're moving to Vietnam and maybe later they can move to India. So my suggestion to everybody would be to be positive. Look at it as an opportunity. There's no reason why the Indian vendors will have lesser number of sales than anybody else in the world if we work towards what we have always been working on, the product, the development, and build in efficiency, build in reliability, which has never been a strong point for India. So that is something that they have to continuously work towards.
Glad to hear this, Alpna. I mean, this is going to be a very positive thing for all the people who are also right now listening to our discussion. Then the same question goes on to you. I mean, we are worried about the orders part. We are worried about how will be the future price points will be. So what is your take on this? How are we going to take this in the coming few months?
So I would again repeat what I've been saying. I don't think there is a problem for a vendor who has a good performance, good relationship with the customer. They will definitely get the orders provided the customer has the order. And the customer has to feel confident that this is the right product to be given to this particular vendor.
No, because but the trust factor is also for the vendor also now, because he is also a little bit insecure about the payments coming. Maybe lockdown happens again. What will happen to him as a manufacturer?
I'm already assuming that is done.
That is done. That will not happen again.
That is already finished.
Okay.
That story is over in my opinion. See, I don't think we are talking about the fallout, which is related to non-payment, customers going into bankruptcies so much anymore. We are talking more in terms of where relationship building has to happen. Where are you as a vendor, as a supplier? When I say supplier, like the whole chain has to align in confidence. And in my opinion, this part is already done. Most of the, like I can tell you, I'm sure that's the same situation with Alpna and with Virendra also, is that I think we're already knowing which are the, I mean, in their case, they are the buyer. In our case, we also have to look at the customer base, which we have besides the supplier. But if I talk, the three of us, where we have the common situation is a supplier base. I can already tell you, we all are very clear who are the suppliers we want to support and who are going to fall away. So,
it's like the ones who were scoring very high.
See, unfortunately, it's today you have to allocate 30, 40, 50% less business. That's the reality. I mean, and it's out of everyone's hands. That's the problem. All I try to tell everyone is that, listen, this is the time where you need to go. I mean, we unfortunately don't even talk about 80-20 rule. I mean, we don't even follow that. Now it's become 90-10. You have to focus on the 10%, and build it up from there. Unfortunately, that's the reality.
How would you be supporting the vendor base in that sense? I mean, that will be very difficult part.
We are very clearly supporting the vendor base in terms of the ratio. I would say that. I mean, that's the only thing which we can do.
Yeah,
so if the customer business has gone down by 20 to 30% or whatever, I mean, only thing which we can try and make sure is that only that proportion is what is getting a hit instead of, overall they're getting a hit. Because it's really, unfortunately, the pie has shrunk. You cannot...
The complete consuming pattern has changed.
Second part is the moment you push the customer to start to buy more, you are actually inviting more financial trouble. If the financial trouble also needs to be avoided by being smart. I rather work with a customer who says, okay, listen, I want to buy because I know I can consume it. Let's work on a shorter lead time. Let's work on what ways we can be innovative. And we all are sure that whatever we are doing together is going to be profitable for both of us. So that's a take. See, there is no point for us to try and say, oh, I have 500 machines and I have idle capacity. The reality is that the 500 machines don't matter anymore because the capacity, the buying power has shrunk tremendously.
That means for some time now, the volume game will be out. The volume businesses will not be huge, right? Shorter quantities, more styles, and the categories like, as we discussed, casual wear, t-shirts, these will be seeing a upsurge in demand. Am I right?
See, this is also the trend towards is work from home. So anything which is related to work from home is trending right now.
Even the home textiles, right?
Home textiles, furniture, you're spending so much time at your home. Suddenly you start to see all the defects which are there. So first thing, and then that's becoming your environment, which is there. So I think it's to me that the category which is trending today is because of that, to be honest. Then a lot of the things like related to medical textiles and, some microbial finishes and antiviral finishes.
Sustainable also.
See, they probably will become a permanent thing in time to come, where most of the people will say, okay, it's like a feature which is built into the fabrics, in time to come. So that but how does it affect the fashionability? I don't know. Whether what happens to the hand feel, what happened to the other thing, we really don't know what is going to happen. So as long as it is not changing the how should I say, it's not changing the performance in terms of its desirability. I would not say performance in terms of fabric, but desirability of the product. I think these kind of finishes will become a norm.
So I would not be wrong if I say that the product will be moving towards a different sort of value addition, where the value addition will not be something in terms of the look of the garment, but will in terms of finishes. Am I right?
No, I don't think so. I think what I'm saying is that it's like you go to a factory and you say, if there are not these 10 criterias, I will not even enter the factory.
Okay.
So this will become a norm from that point of view, that fabric has to have this finish. It has nothing to do with the aesthetic.
It is not even value addition. It is the basic norm.
Exactly.
Okay.
So those kind of things are definitely going to happen, but they are, I don't know how advantageous they are going to be finally for a country like India. And if we can, come up with some, like a lot of people are coming up with
already, yep. Antimicrobial fabrics, yep.
All those people, they are saying, give us any fabric, give you antiviral, antimicrobial finish,
True.
And so I think these are the kind of trend changes which I see happening, and embracing those trend changes is always helpful. So, when you are, because it's like an ecosystem, right? When you talk about compliance, it's a given thing. So at the same time, whoever is taking more lead on the compliances always has an edge.
Absolutely.
It's not necessary that they'll win the business, but they have an edge. So I definitely think that the edge in the future is going to come by what vendor is bringing on the table, and that will protect them a lot in terms of what kind of a payment terms they can negotiate, what kind of a customers they can work with. So my advice to everyone is that look at where you can be, you can have an edge. You have to see internally to see where can I have an edge. How am I going to differentiate myself in terms of my performance, whether it be in terms of digital sampling, speed to react, or react and test and react thing. It's like everybody has to do a lot of introspection, and they definitely have to go think of these innovation more than spending money. To me, it's a management style change. Very, very big management style change has to happen. we have to understand that there is no tomorrow. Everything has to be done today. It has to be resolved today. Whoever is going to bring that solution to the table will have the desirability from the buyer to work. And then you can decide and say, okay, listen, I don't want to work with you because you don't give me a payment term. But you have to be in that situation first.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're not in that situation, how can you demand? But if you are in that situation, believe me, customer will work with you. They will make sure that they protect you. And which I earlier also I said that even the customer has protected. It's not that the fallout is across the board same. It differs from vendor to vendor.
Absolutely, that is true. Virendra, do you want to add something on to what Devendra said? Because it's more of a summing up this webinar also. I mean, do you agree to the points that he has mentioned? And I would like to ask your opinion on the same.
I completely agree. I guess, vendors need to offer a complete value proposition. And I'm telling you, so the good vendors will always be in the need, right? That's a reality. We are fortunate enough that we are on the other side of the spectrum, that we have, we have a problem of plenty. We have extensive business, which we are looking at place. We are looking at diversifying our strategy. We are moving into different countries. But we are looking at vendors who share the same vision, have the capability to work with us in future in terms of having the digital assets. They have vision in terms of their, having the PLM platforms, or do they have the 3D capabilities, or do they have the digital color approval capabilities and all those things. So we are looking at those vendors who have the capabilities to work in this kind of difficult environment. Traditional way of manufacturing is not going to work in future, right? Automation, robotics is increasingly in demand. I was in conversation with a company who produced SUBOTs, right? So we heard about SUBOTs, and Adidas has kind of invested heavily with them in creating a completely automatic robotic manufacturing plant, and they are seeing increase. Humongous amount of inquiries to them, and they're saying that they are not in a position to cater to the requirements which are coming to them. So people in manufacturing and retailers both are actually looking at the digital ways of working, and this is the only way, in my opinion, which will cut the lead time. We keep on talking about the lead time. Everything is finite. Fabric will take X amount of time to get manufactured. Garment production will take X amount of time to get manufactured. So the process part of it is extremely important. When we talk about sustainability, it's not just about the product sustainability. We need to look at the process sustainability as well. So when we combine the product and process sustainability, that's where you get the economic sustainability into the business. So those are the things which we really need to focus on, and create a compelling value proposition to the consumer, and both buyers and manufacturers need to work together as one team.
But when just as Devendra highlighted that because the business is shrinking, and that will also lead on to consolidation of the vendor base. So what, as per your company, what will be the strategy? How are you going to handle the situation? Will you be working with more innovative vendors? What exactly will be your perspective on this?
So we are certainly looking at vendors who have deep pockets, who have good financial strength, and who have a vision for future as well. And multi-product capabilities and multi-country production. So these are the few fundamentals which we are looking at in a manufacturer, and apart from the co-creation ability, which is going to be extremely important. Like Devendra mentioned, and Alpna also mentioned, that there will be more product offering, more fashion play which will happen. The basic products proportion will get reduced, and then fashion product proportion will get increased. So the co-creation abilities is going to be an extremely important component of the buyer and seller relationship. So vendors who have the edge, India has a tremendous edge, but they really need to translate that into orders with the efficiency into the entire supply chain. So from our sourcing strategy perspective, we are looking at these 4-5 components to kind of decide who should be the go-forward partner for us in future.
And do you?
And we are not restricting ourselves just to one location. We are looking at all locations, key manufacturing locations, to kind of diversify our supply base and mitigate our risks.
Like which? Can you elaborate?
Like we are extensively looking into Vietnam, Indonesia, apart from India, and Bangladesh and China. Yeah? So these are the 5-6 countries which are on our radar to grow the business further. We are heavily penetrated already into China and Bangladesh. We are looking at increasing India, Vietnam, and Indonesia.
And where would be India standing in terms of the ranking for sourcing?
For us, I would say definitely after China and Bangladesh at this point of time, unless and until they create a value proposition for us in terms of product offering, because there is a very limited product offering from India, very restrictive, because they still don't play into active segment significantly. They still don't play into the synthetic segment. Outerwear is a big challenge still in India. So keeping all that in mind, for now, India will be important destination for us, but definitely not number one and number two for sure.
Okay, that's nice, Pringer. I would like to come to the closure of our webinar with my last set of questions, which has just arrived today. After seeing the situation which is happening between India and China, I mean, we still don't know what will be the outcome. But what I'm hearing from a lot of exporters is that they are facing delays in the custom clearance. Their goods are lying. And we all know that we are very much dependent on Chinese accessories, fabrics. So if, for a certain period of time, the, imports are being banned from China, which of course looks very dicey. But if so happens, how do you think India will be able to cope up with that? Alpna, I would like you and then Devendra, both of you to answer the question, please.
So Deepti, as far as I know, India hasn't really banned the imports of products out of China, but there has been certain delay in getting the products cleared from the custom, because the custom is taking more time in clearing the goods. So we have some certain suppliers whose trims, certain fabrics are stuck in custom at the moment, and of course it has a detrimental effect on the overall production, the lead time and everything. So this is something that needs to be closely monitored by the government, of course, and they should take immediate action to make sure this does not hamper the production flow for the apparel industry, which is already going through a very tough phase right now. The couriers have stopped. I know for sure that DHL and FedEx have stopped couriers between China and India. That is leading to a lot of issues, on that front. But honestly speaking, this is not something that I can comment on. And it is obviously detrimental to business. We cannot suddenly come up or spring up with a new supplier base for trims or fabrics immediately. It will require a long-term effort and planning, and it will require the government, the policies of the countries. It will not be something that can be driven only by the supplier base or the buying agents. It's something that has to come up from the government or the country, how they wish to take this business forward. So, in my opinion, that's a tough situation right now, and there's no easy way to get out of it. Of course, the courier should start flowing in, the imports should start. We have a lot hanging in there for our business.
Actually, it is adding on to the woes. Devendra, your view on that? One second.
Yeah, so I would say that it's not a good news for India, and why it is not a good news is that because we have to understand a lot of the things the customer will nominate. For example, a lot of the accessories, they're very critical from them and from their point of view in terms of marketing. And a lot of the time they are they need to get the things from a certain supplier because of the price consolidation and everything which happens. So in today's time, in today's time, you can still tell a customer that, listen, there is a delay because of this reason or whatever. And they probably will support you also. But what happens is that they start to think automatically that, okay, these guys have no control on this. I don't know what is going to happen in future. Am I able to depend on the supply chain, because the supply chain. My point being that we are further restricting the customer to say that, listen, I should only look at the product which is 100% indigenous. If anything which is going to come from outside, I have to be very careful on that particular thing. So I don't think it is a very good situation. I hope that finally the sense prevails that we are talking about. We have to understand the reality of what we are as a manufacturing nation, and there would be components, there would be things which will come from different parts of the world. And when we say different part of the world, unfortunately, China is the factory to the world. Wherever, even when you look at the productions which are happening in Vietnam and other countries, for any product for that matter, a lot of the components still come from China. So it's not a good situation in my opinion. It's adding into, customers are again sending us many messages, then you're creating stories, you are telling them, okay, it will happen after a week, then it doesn't happen after a week, then you come up with another story, and so it's not a good situation.
It actually leads to more uncertainty in terms of to buyer, who's
Correct.
staying there. Yeah.
Correct.
It's not a favorable situation for the exporters right now.
Yeah. Not at all.
So we have a lot of challenges, but we have to overcome them. I mean, everybody waits for a positive day and a positive time. So I think this will be the end of this webinar, and I would like you all to give just one line of caution or maybe one last piece of word from your mouth to motivate or to to encourage the industry. So I think anybody of you can start. I mean, Alpna, you started.
Well, I think we've discussed everything, all the points governing the business right now. So we've kind of covered everything. The key would be to keep, a close watch and survival this year. I think sustainability has to be looked into in terms of fund flow perspective, and that is the key right now, the survival, And then, of course, we build towards the future, but I would suggest everybody to keep a positive outlook and, keep working towards it. I'm very optimistic by nature, and I believe if you work hard, you'll get there. So everybody should put in their best efforts, but survival is the key right now and would be for the next 6 months or so.
Great, Alpna. Devendra, your piece of thought.
I think only one word, Atmanirbhar. I think this word has become somehow or the other, I believe there is a hidden meaning to whatever Mr. Modi says.
True.
It's a clear thing. I think that's all I can say. And whoever can dig deep in terms of how they can manage the things the best way possible in terms of what is in their hand will come out to be a winner. And that's what I'm trying to tell everyone, that listen, there is no point in saying this is not happening, that is not happening, this is not whatever, because really, unfortunately, there are more reasons which are against you than the reasons which are in favor.
True.
And unfortunate, or I would say fortunately, they're across the board same situation with everybody in the world. We are not the only one. So we just have to do a lot of deep diving. We have to do a lot of introspection. I think it's a really, really time for everyone to do some deep introspection and come out very confidently in terms of this is where we are going to play. This is my playground. And I know I'm going to play because I will win. If we don't follow that attitude, we will not survive. That's all I can say,
Very well said, Devendra. I mean, most of the points that you have raised here are very valid, especially in today's time when, everything is so uncertain that, but as you rightly said, Atmanirbhar, we can just be confident about ourselves and we should just innovate the way we do things. That will be the only surviving mantra in the long run. Virendra ji, your last piece of advice, one tagline from you also.
So I always believe in that crisis brings opportunity as well. It's not just only the pain, right? So we just need to really identify the opportunities which are in front of us. Look at building the supply chain capabilities, look at building your digital assets, make a value proposition to the consumers. Everyone will be important. That's what I'm saying. If you are able to give a compelling proposition, there's no way you won't get the business, and you will get the business, and you will be a true partner for most of the retailers in the world.
Great. Thank you so much, Alpana, Devender, and Virender. I mean, it was really a very interesting session that we had today. We had a lot of participants also. I'm sure that they have also enjoyed this conversation. And maybe we look forward to many more conversations like this because, as you rightly said, these are tough times and we have to support each other. And today's time, information is a very crucial thing. And signing on, I think this will be the last segment. And thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Really good insights.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For organizing all this.
Thank you so much. And I hope that we all come out of this situation very strongly, very soon.
Yes. Atmanirbhar.
Atmanirbhar. Great. Thank you. I will be ending this call. Thank you once again. Have a nice
Thank you, guys.
evening. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you,
Good
everyone.
evening. Bye-bye.